Hi there, and welcome to Meals with Melissa. It is Saturday morning, and I apologize for being a couple minutes late. I had a pop socket on the back of my phone, and it wasn't allowing me to actually get my tripod set up. So this morning we're going to talk about protein balls, energy balls, protein balls. Kind of, to me, a little bit of the same thing. You can add a little more protein by it. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But I'm trying to come up with some easy snacks, things that are great for on the go, or if you just really are struggling to find something that's simple and easy to make. It's kind of, to me, it's a little bit like a no-bake cookie. So of course, totally satisfying. I really figure that even though this is going to contain a little bit of natural sugar, it's still a really great transition from anything that is that contains a lot of refined sugars. So things that are better than, honestly, granola bars, because of course I used to think that granola bars were healthy until I started to do a little research and realized that they're really not. So we're gonna make some great protein balls this morning. Lots of recipes. Really it kind of comes down to your personality and what kind of things that you actually like to include in your foods. For some people today we're going to include coconut. For some people they don't like coconut. You just don't include that. So if you hop onto Pinterest, which of course is one of my favorite tools, you're going to see lots and lots of options. So my response to what's the best option for you is, put it in MyFitnessPal, see how it works with your macros. Really, of course, again, watch the sugars. I talk about that all the time, but that is super important. And make sure that it's something that works well for you. I think it's a really great option for, maybe an hour before your workout, because it's going to give you the strength and the energy that you need to get through that, especially if you're running maybe from work directly to the gym. So here we go. Now, I actually made a set already that I'm going to show you in a minute, but super, super simple, guys. I mean, it's a lot of stuff that you're already going to find in your kitchen, in your cupboards. And if not, you can always run to, say like Winco to get what you need. Now, the recipe that I give you, I've actually halved it for today because I made half this morning so that I can show you kind of a made product. And then I'm going to do half right now. But I will give you the full recipe. And then again, you can throw it in MyFitnessPal, break it down and see how it works for you when it comes to serving size. So we're going to use oats. Now, I highly recommend that you use, if you like steel cut oats, be my guest. Not a huge fan of the texture, but if that's something that you like, go for it. But definitely stay away from quick oats. I don't like anything instant because it's already moved the fiber husk or the fiber shell from the product, which means that it turns to sugar a little bit faster in your system. So I'm using rolled oats, which again, we keep on hand in a great big quantity. So it calls for 1 cup of oats. Like I said, I'm having it today, okay? We're going to do, now it says 2/3 cup of coconut flakes. I highly recommend that you use unsweetened because again, anytime that you can cut out the added sugars, because of course we know that added sugars, in American diet, we already get so much in the way of sugar that, and of course, the more natural it is, yes, it's a better option, but your body still treats it the same and it will still spike insulin. So 2/3 cup of coconut. And I'm just going to kind of guesstimate that right now. My first batch did not have coconut, just because, I was giving my family some options here. But I'm going to throw the dry ingredients in first. I'm going to use a half a cup, well, again, I'm having it, a half a cup of chocolate chips. Now, again, be sparing with this one. Don't go crazy. I'm actually using the darkest chocolate on chocolate chips that I could possibly find, because the darker the chocolate, the less, yes, I know some people think that it tastes a little more bitter, but you know what? You get used to it. And when I talk about transition from, more sugarier snacks, that this is a really great option, it's because we're not completely cutting out the sweetness or the sugars from it. We're just making better choices when it comes to the sugars that we're using and how much that we're including in it. So I'm going to do a half a cup of the darkest chocolate chips I could find. Okay, and mix that in there. I also, in the recipe that I have, I'm going to include a little bit of flaxseed, which of course has some major health benefits. You could also include things like chia seeds. Really, it really depends on what you like and what kind of flavors that you like to include, and again, what your macros are for the day. So I'm going to include a half a cup of ground flaxseed. Now, I actually found this in bulk at Winco, so super easy to find. Okay. Then I'm also going to include, now I'm going to use peanut butter, but I highly recommend, you can use any nut butter. I'm a huge fan of almond butter, love the flavor. My buddy Chef Brett, who I've already talked to this morning, he actually uses cashew butter, which, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. partially because I can't even eat this today. It does not currently fit my macros at the moment, but it smells amazing. So I'm gonna include peanut butter today. I'm gonna do a half a cup of peanut butter. Again, remember I'm having it. But totally your choice as to what you use. I do, again, highly recommend that you use something that's very low in sugar. And processed peanut butter, pre-made commercial peanut butter does tend to contain quite a bit of sugar for what it is. I like to grind my own. Down at Winco, they have several options of, I know they have almond butter. I know they have peanut butter. They might even have cashews. I'm not even 100% sure on that. But you know, if you're allergic to peanut butter and peanuts, you have other options. So it doesn't have to be a peanut option. So I'm gonna throw that in there. Now, if you really wanted to, you could actually reduce the amount of nut butter and actually throw in some nuts as well if you like the crunch. Now I'm using creamy peanut butter, but you can use whatever works best for you. Now, I see that people are popping up. Lynette, I can see that you're popping up there, but it's the camera, my phone, is too far away for me to actually read what you guys are saying in order to make sure that you can see everything that I'm doing. And I apologize for that. It's a little different than my Wednesday night Q&A. So, okay, so we got the peanut butter in there. I'm also going to add a little bit of honey. Now, other options for sweetness, again, I don't want to add any sugar if I can possibly handle it, but if I'm going to add something that's sweet, I want to add something that's a little more natural. So I am going to add a little bit of honey. Now it calls for a third cup, and because I'm having it, I'm going to use a tablespoon, and I'm actually only going to add 2 tablespoons, which I know it's like 5.33 tablespoons equals a third of a cup. But I personally don't want to add that much sweet to it. So I'm going to add a little bit less than it calls for. Now, of course, it's going to be super slow. It was a little faster this morning when I made it originally. Other things, you know, the reason I talked to my buddy Chef Brett this morning was because, you know, he's really good at coming up with some of these things, and even changing it up a little bit to meet his needs of whatever it is that he wants to make. And one of his suggestions, he has some really great ones that he's made. He actually adds, you could add any fruit, but he adds blueberries. You could add things like dried cranberries. You know, think of a fruit that tends to be a little more shelf stable. Sorry, we got somebody at the door and the dogs are barking. So that's just kind of happening in the background here. But he also takes dates, which of course are a natural sweetener. Now you hear the chaos at my house. That's what happens when people knock on the door at my house. So he takes them and puts them in the food processor, and they become more of a paste. And so he also can use that as his binder. I actually asked him if something like a coconut oil would be a good binder, but he says that, you know, when you start to combine that with the nut butters, it changes the consistency of the coconut oil and it doesn't become as great of a binder. So that's not necessarily a really good option for this, even though it sounds amazing. And if you're already putting coconut in it, of course, you know, you're already getting coconut oil in it. Okay, so the last one that I'm going to add for today is a little bit of vanilla. Okay, and it says a teaspoon, so of course I'm having that today. All right, and then super simple, you just mix it up and it will start to combine. It'll take a second for all of the wetter ingredients, you know, the honey and the peanut butter to kind of combine with some of the drier ingredients. But it will do that. And then I'm actually going to throw it into the refrigerator for about 30 minutes to set up just a little bit so that it becomes something that I can actually handle. Okay, so you can kind of see that the consistency, it's just clumping up just a little bit, kind of like if you were making pie dough. Something super fun this morning. You know, I've been trying to think of things that my youngest can do instead of spending so much time with electronics. And one of the things that he does actually like to do is to cook. And so the reason why I was talking to my buddy Chef Brett this morning is that my son is over there having a fantastic, fun cooking session with Brett. And of course, their goal is to make something that drives mom crazy because she, you know, I have a specific goal right now. And so they are making cast iron pizza and some, I think it's like raspberry chocolate cake. And of course, he says he's doing that just to, you know, drive me crazy. So, you know, gotta love when your friends love you. Okay, so I'm gonna throw this into the refrigerator. Allow that to sit for about 30 minutes just so it kind of hardens up just a little bit with the little the pastes that I put in there. Okay, and I'm going to take out the one that I've already made this morning, and I've covered it. Okay, so it's solidified just a little bit, which just makes it a little bit easier to handle. Now, I know that it's going to be fairly sticky, so what I like to do is I actually like to spray my hands with a little bit of cooking spray. So, grabbing that just real quick. Yes, it disappeared from the screen, I know. Okay, I'm going to grab a little bit of that. Also, once you have these done, I would still keep them in the fridge in a sealed container. So I have a little container with my lid. Okay, I'm gonna spray my hands just to kind of keep them from getting all sticky. Okay, and again, it's your choice as to how big those energy bites or those protein balls are going to be. So I like to make them a little bit smaller, and that way if you eat 2, you think you're getting a whole lot, right? So you're just gonna make just a nice little ball, okay, and put it in your container. And then I'm just gonna store it back in the fridge, right? Super simple. So like I said, you can choose other ingredients if you wanna throw them in there. Things like, one of the great ideas that I saw this morning was you could use PP2, you know, the powdered peanut butter. Again, you just have to make sure that if you are using a powder instead of a paste, that you use something as a binder. You could also use a little bit of powdered protein, like vanilla or peanut butter protein. Again, that raises the protein in your recipe so that you have a little bit more of that, and it does become more of a protein source than just an energy source, because this does contain some carbs, obviously, right? Other things that you can use, like I said, you can use nuts, you can use chopped nuts, seeds. Like I said, I would just watch the amount of sugar and the amount of sweetener that you put in it. Other sweeteners that you can use, like I said, besides agave, you could use a little bit of maple syrup. Again, I would use the most natural maple syrup that you could find. Really watch your ingredients for things like high fructose corn syrup, because that really is not a good option. Studies have actually found that high fructose corn syrup actually messes with your hormones a little bit, especially your hormones leptin and ghrelin, which are your hungry and full or satiated hormones that tell your body, you know, where you are when it comes to food. Okay, so this one, I just made like 5, okay, so, you know, 10, 12 little balls, right? Super easy to take with you, and you know what, even my kids will eat this, so it just is a great, simple recipe. It still tastes good, it still has a little bit of sweet in it, but it's definitely better than using something, or even, like I said, granola bars, or even some of those protein bars out there, guys. You really got to watch the ingredients. Some of them you might as well eat a Snickers, because when you look at the ingredients, it's about the same. It rolls out about the same. So hopefully that helps give you a great idea for something that you can use, something that's really simple to make. I'm all about doing something easy so that you have no excuses about being healthy, because as we know, health does not happen by chance. You actually have to prepare for it and do it on purpose. So have an incredible Saturday, you guys. Have a great weekend. Hopefully you have pretty good weather. It's really windy here, and I heard that it snowed yesterday in Seattle. For all you Seattleites, I'm so sorry. Enjoy. And have an incredible day, guys. A good one.